Racist people don't really want segregation. Segregation is drawing a line in the sand where black people live on this side and white people live on that side. They don't want segregation. They want selective segregation, servitude, and unfair treatment. Segregation is what happened to Black Wall Street. See, that's what they don't want. Here's the big difference. Racists want you to live where they put you, and they want you to work towards the advancement of their society over here. So we want you to live here, but work in the coal mines, in the fields, and work in the construction and the hard labor. And then when you get done, leave over where we are and go stay where we told you to stay. And also, we want unfair treatment. Look up to us as we look down on you. But the second we start having our own banks, having our own doctors, having our own farms, letting the money that we create inside our community continue to circulate inside our community and build our own community up, that's an issue. That's why Black Wall Street gets burned down, because what we're doing over here doesn't benefit what they're doing over here. Like, I gotta build my own thing up. No, we want people low enough on the totem pole financially and educational wise that we can use them to be the burden bearers of our society. That extends past color. I just wanted to make a video real quick just so all the people on the same page as me understand what I'm about, because I clearly know that the segregation that they're talking about ain't the segregation that we talking about. Leave it in the comments.
Bring segregation back, and when them bring back segregation, make sure them bring it back in a full force like how them did have it in the 40s, 50s and 60s, because at this point the last season of Merrimaca is going out with a bang. It brawling. And for everybody that did think say you was not going to live through see this, let me make you know I am your favorite man. Him a go hard and him a tell you no say you fede over yaso and uno fede over yaso. There's no selective segregation around here. This is the segregation that we parents, with grandparents, with uncle, with auntie them did experience, and now in 2025, the segregation law that banned all of them kind of wickedness has been lifted by our favorite man. So now there's no get out of jail free card for anybody. Lord of his mercy, I never did think I'm going to live through. Live for see this. I'm tired to live through history at this point in time.
Trump's ban turns the border into a sorting tool built to separate people by race and poverty. Capitol tightens its grip by keeping a disposable class on standby, and this policy manufactures that vulnerability on purpose. Trump didn't design the machine, but he tore off every layer that once tried to disguise its intent. Power reveals its targets by striking nations drained by extraction, climate disaster, and wars fueled through our own weapons trade. Politicians break entire regions, then label the survivors as threats to keep their audience frightened. This pattern lays bare a structure that works like racketeering dressed up as governance. Migrant workers keep food moving, care for elders, and steady service jobs while ICE hunts them without pause. Their labor gets taken while their dignity gets stripped. This tension holds millions in a trap built to maintain control. Banning black and brown families strengthens a global caste order meant to decide who counts. It signals that some lives get thrown away and some grief can be erased. Those camps and those flights operate as deliberate outcomes of a border regime shaped by profit. Solidarity means nothing without direct pushback against that math. Our silence turns into cooperation with their sorting of human worth.
There should be no debate about whether our government should be able to implement segregationist policies. But without this amendment, nothing stops an administration from using reorganization powers to roll back civil rights. Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," begs the question, when exactly is he talking about? What year does Donald Trump want to return to? I'd like to know. I can venture a guess. based on many actions, which I'll enumerate shortly. But let's take a moment to revisit Donald Trump's origins and his track record. Donald Trump was born in the 1940s and raised under Jim Crow, a time when laws were codified to give him an advantage with the segregation of schools, businesses, and public spaces. And when he started taking control of his dad's real estate businesses a few years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Trump made front page news when he was sued for discriminating against black families who applied for housing. 60 years later, he is still making front page news for racial discrimination. Just last week, the Trump administration revoked a decades-old policy that prohibited federal contractors from having segregated facilities. Let that sink in. This administration just made it easier for businesses to reintroduce white-only waiting rooms, white-only bathrooms, and white-only water fountains in the year 2025. But this isn't just about one policy change. It's about a broader, coordinated assault on civil rights to take America back to Jim Crow. Trump has appointed judges that don't support the Brown versus Board of Education decision, an obvious opening for a return to segregated schools. Trump is dismantling the Department of Education as we speak to prevent access to equal education and upend more than 300 active civil rights cases in my district alone. Trump has overturned executive orders from the 1960s, including one signed in 1965 that mandated equal opportunity for people of color in the recruitment, hiring, and training of federal contractors. Trump has even removed Black history from government websites, including the Department of Defense. He is literally trying to prevent people from learning about Black veterans and their contributions and sacrifices in this country. I could go on, but we would be here until tomorrow. And listen, I will be the first to acknowledge Democrats and Republicans alike have a bad history on this issue. But today, only one party is acknowledging that shameful legacy, while the Republicans remain silent, deafeningly so. So I will give everyone here a chance to clarify. This vote is simple. Are you against racial segregation? This is your chance to go on the record if you are in fact opposed to racial segregation. Let's ensure that no administration, present or future, can support policies of segregation.
One of the actions taken by President Donald Trump after returning to office was a sweeping attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, commonly called as DAY. Welcome to Truth Verdict. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let's break a controversy that ignites debate across America: race, political power, and treatment of African America under President Donald Trump administration. Before we begin, credit to the original Stitches video that inspired this discussion and raised many questions will be examined today.
From Black Trump voters. Now, right off the bat, if you're Black and you voted for Trump or you're still supporting Trump, you are delusional. If you think Trump, I've known Trump for 30 years. If you think he's pro-Black people, you're completely delusional. I've been to Mar-a-Lago, I don't know how many times, and I've never seen a Black person there. And Mar-a-Lago is a huge place. There's 1,000 people there when I used to go there for a fundraiser or an event. Never seen a Black person. I've never seen a single Black person there. Okay, Trump is not a fan of Black people, but you probably didn't see this. If you're still supporting him, you probably didn't see how he snuck this in a couple of days ago. So a couple of days ago, if you're not familiar, Trump pulled back the law that kept federal workers in federal buildings from segregating bathrooms, drinking fountains, work areas from Blacks and whites or any other race. Okay, it was always Black and white, but that's what the law says. He pulled it. Okay, now we're going back to the days of the early 60s, late 50s, 1950s and before, where there were Black water fountains, colored water fountains is what they call them for coloreds, and white water fountains, and restaurants. And now in federal buildings, they can discriminate against you. Okay.
But on the issue of race, on the treatment of African Americans, specifically. Even being terrible at what they're doing has still proven to be disastrous for our country. And it is, in part, the posturing from the White House and the president. That is stuff that validates and excites the worst bigots in the country, and that is consequential. But it's more than that, too. We are now about 16 months into what has been from day one a concerted and intense targeting of Black Americans, specifically by this president and by this administration. On his first full day in office, he proclaims war on diversity efforts, not only in government, but in any institution in the country over which he can exert leverage, everything from schools and universities to law firms to private businesses of every stripe. He then immediately started firing some of the highest profile Black public officials in the whole U.S. government, seemingly regardless of any other thing about them. I mean, right away, we get the firing of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Charles C.Q. Brown. We get the firing of the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden. And then it's Gwyn Wilcox from the National Labor Relations Board. And then it's Robert Primus, the chair of the Surface Transportation Board. And then it's Alvin Brown from the NTSB. And then it's Peggy Carr, the head of the National Center for Education Statistics. And then it's Willie Phillips from FERC, from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And then it's Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, and on and on and on. When Trump and his top political donor, Elon Musk, then started just lopping off huge swaths of the federal government to disastrous practical effect, the largest and most egregious cuts targeted federal agencies that employed a disproportionate number of Black employees. Reporter Erica Green wrote about this a few months ago for The Times, noting that nothing had moved backwards in the federal government for Black Americans this quickly or this far in over 100 years. Since Woodrow Wilson came in 1912 and resegregated the federal workforce. Quote, Black employees were fired or demoted to lower-level jobs, relegated to separate and inferior lunchrooms and other facilities, and accused of making white women feel unsafe. Those who remained were humiliated. A Black worker in the Postal Service was surrounded by screens, so white workers would not have to look at him. Another employee had a cage built around him to separate him from his white counterparts. A clerk in the Treasury Secretary's office was assigned to rewrite all correspondence to address Black employees by their first names. The way Trump addressed the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, by her first name when he crowed publicly about firing her for no reason. In the year of our Lord, 2025, and now 2026, this president and this administration is not just inheriting that history from the Wilson administration, it's furthering it in its own ways. Since 1965, there has been an executive order in effect. It was signed by Lyndon Johnson, 1965. Since 1965, all federal contractors have been banned by executive order from discriminating on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. Donald Trump rescinded that 1965 rule on his first full day in office. Less than a month later, Trump announced another rule change. They rescinded Clause 52.222-21 of the Federal Acquisition Regulation, which doesn't sound like much, but I'll tell you what the title of that is. It's Prohibition of Segregated Facilities. That's what Trump rescinded less than 1 month into being back in the White House. That section reads, quote, the contractor agrees that it does not and will not maintain or provide for its employees any segregated facilities at any of its establishments, and that it does not and will not permit its employees to perform their services at any location under its control where segregated facilities are maintained. That anti-segregation clause has been in government contracts for decades. Donald Trump overtly reached out to rescind it, which means, bluntly, that the federal government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. Make America great again, right? Recently fired and sidelined employees in the Department of Housing and Urban Development have started sounding the alarm that the Trump administration is no longer, just bluntly no longer enforcing a federal law known as the Fair Housing Act. Fair Housing Act, another pillar of the civil rights movements and its achievements. The Fair Housing Act dates to 1968. It says you can't refuse to rent to someone or refuse to sell a house to someone on account of their race or their color or religion or national origin or any other factor against which we're supposed to be protected from discrimination. According to current and former employees of the Department of Housing and Urban Development under Donald Trump, they have dropped enforcement of the Federal Housing Act. In Trump's first year back in office, black unemployment spiked in this country from 6.2% all the way up to 7.5%, making it the highest of all racial groups. Under Joe Biden, black unemployment had been at a record low of 4.8%, spiking now under Donald Trump. The Trump administration, generally speaking, is bad at its work. It is bad at what it sets its mind to in all sorts of ways. But black Americans, African Americans, have been targeted by this administration in a concerted way that has nevertheless been devastating, even though the Trump administration isn't good at anything they set their mind to. And that was all before the conservative majority on the U.S. Supreme Court, including all of Trump's appointees, voted to effectively end the Voting Rights Act a few days ago. As soon as the court said they would take up that case, people started mapping the worst case scenario for what Trump and the Republicans would do, particularly in the South, if the court gutted the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the crowning achievement of the civil rights movement. And the before and after looks like the snapback after the end of Reconstruction, after the Civil War. I mean, look at the state of Louisiana there. A third of the population of Louisiana is black. Louisiana's Republican governor canceled congressional elections that are already underway in that state to rush through new maps that will presumably make sure that even though 1/3 of the population of that state is black, there will be no black representation in Congress for Louisiana at all. South Carolina, a quarter of the population is black. They have one majority-minority district represented by an African-American Democrat, Jim Clyburn. They are going to try to get rid of that one black district so that South Carolina is all white, all Republican in representation, while a quarter of the people who live in that state are black. In Tennessee, 1 in 6 residents is black. Republicans now want to make sure all 9 congressional seats in Tennessee are white. All 9 of them. They want it to be 9-0, white and Republican, when 1 in 6 people in that state is black. In her dissent from the majority ruling, Justice Elena Kagan said it will likely cause the largest reduction to minority representation since the end of Reconstruction. She probably didn't need to use the word likely there. The war on black Americans that is being waged by this president and this Republican Party is one of the only things they have put their mind to in this past year that they've actually done pretty well at. A comprehensive attack on black public officials and black public power. A comprehensive attack on black public officials in the federal government, black employees in the federal government, black representatives in Congress, and now all around the country, where everywhere Republicans are in charge, they are scrambling to make sure that black public officials can no longer hold office.
So Trump bringing back segregation, we don't give a fuck. We don't know. Trump has basically passed a law where now contractors can say, this is the white only fountain, this is the black only fountain, at colored fountain. This is the colored bathroom, this is the white only bathroom. Now I know they finna have a field day with this in the South immediately. I'm in the Midwest, so we might not see that too soon just yet, but I'm sure it's gonna come. But I just wanna be the one to first, let me talk to my black people real quick. Black people, we don't give a fuck still. And I want to talk to y'all real quick because see, when they decide to bring back whites only, colors only, all of that, I'm gonna tell y'all this. One thing we need to do is make sure we turn our shit up. We need to get our shit in order. We need to make sure that we are supporting black only businesses. We are making it a necessity to make sure when they do bring this shit back, you see who want to play this game and make sure you play that shit better than them. We're the reason why a lot of these motherfucking corporations are even functioning. So to think that they want us to react so bad, like we are trying to learn motherfucking where them fans at, and here y'all come trying to tell us what motherfucking water fountain we need to be drinking out of. Like Trump, please find something else to fucking do. If you think this finna get us in the street, I'm gonna have to tell me how. Come in real quick. not going to work, okay? If anything, this is the best thing that has happened yet, because I would love to go to a color-only bathroom, a color-only water fountain, because I'll just be 100 with y'all. Some of y'all nasty as fuck. So to say that we are finna go back into segregation, like what y'all gonna do when we lit as fuck over here and y'all born as fuck over there? Y'all don't know what we doing. Y'all ain't doing shit. So to segregate anything is just the craziest shit ever, but I'm not surprised. We're not about to use this as a situation to make us feel like, oh, we're scared. Well, no. Protect yourself. Get your family in order. Black people, get your family in order. Start to really be more mindful of the money you're spending. Invest your money, because the only thing they got up on us right now is knowing how money works. Knowing how to invest that money to make that money make money for them. We need to spend our time focused on that. We're not getting in the streets marching. We're going to get in them books and understand credit, understand investments, understand stock, understand how to, we're going to do that. Because eventually what's happening is we got to get on the other side. See, they know how to build businesses and use government money to basically keep themselves afloat. We don't yet. So let's learn that. All that said, to all of the people who are not black and you are like trying to fight for this and you really want to see a change, more power to you. But I'm gonna tell y'all like this: we happy y'all care because we don't give a fuck. And if you a black person that's finding yourself starting to care, please don't. This is your reminder to sit this shit out, because at the end of the day, it don't matter what we do, it don't matter what we say. The only thing they want to do is get us in a position where they can off us and then make it seem like this is the reason why they did A, B, C, D. But we finna just go ahead and learn what the motherfucking fans at and continue to mind our business like we've been doing. Hello, bye.
Supporter argues this program promotes unfair preference and should be eliminated. Critics argue they are necessary tools for addressing historical discrimination and ensuring equal opportunity. But what raised eyebrows was not simply the policy change itself. It was the speed and the scope of the administration action. On his first full day in office, Trump issued executive order targeting diversity initiative through the federal government. The administration also signaled that it will pressure university, schools, law firms, and private corporates to roll back diversity programs. Then came a series of high-profile dismissal involving senior government officials, including prominent black leaders serving in key positions. To supporters, this move represents a return to merit-based governance. To critics, they appear to be part of a broader effort to weaken black representative and influence within American institutions. The controversy deepened when attention turned to federal contracting rules. For decades, federal contract was required to comply with anti-discrimination provision that prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, sexual orientation, and gender identity. The Trump administration rescinded some long-standing executive order requirements related to affirmative action and diversity obligation for federal contractors. Then another change sparked even more concern. The administration removed certain language from federal acquisition regularization, including a clause dealing with segregated facilities. That clause has stated that contractors will not maintain segregated facilities such as waiting rooms, restaurants, drinking fountain, transportation, housing, or other working place facilities separated by races. Critics immediately sounded the alarm. They argued that even if segregation remained illegal under federal civil rights law, removing explicit anti-segregation language sent a dangerous message and weakened safeguards that had existed from generations. Supporters responded that the language was redundantly because segregation is already prohibited by existing federal law and constitutional protection. So the debate quickly became larger than legal technicality. What does it mean when language that has symbolized Americans' commitment to racist equality for decades is removed? It is merely bureaucracy, housekeeping, or is it a signal about the administration priorities? For many African Americans, these actions do not exist in isolation. They are viewed alongside broader political battle over voting rights, representation, diversity program, and public office. Across the country, battles have been fought over who gets elected, who gets appointed, who gets represented, and whose voice carry influence in government. Critics argue that this development amounts to comprehensive attack on black political power. They point to actions affecting black public office, black federal employees, voting access, and representation in government institutes. Supporters reject that characteristics entirely. They argue that the administration is simply dismantling race-based policy and restoring equal treatment under the law regardless of race. And that is where America finds itself once again. Two conflicting visions. One side see the rollback of diversity initiative as a necessary correction. Other sides see it as a dangerous reverse for decades of civil rights progress. The truth is that this debate goes far beyond politics. It touches on the very question America has wrestled with since founding. What does equality mean? How should historical injustice be addressed? And how does we ensure that every citizen has a fair opportunity to succeed? To those questions remain unanswered and they continue to divide the nation. Now we want to hear from you. Do you believe this policy strengthens equality by treating everyone the same? Or do you believe that weakened protection that were put in place to prevent discrimination and exclusion? Drop your thoughts in the comment below. If you find this breakdown informative, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Truth Verdict for more in-depth analysis of stories shaping our world. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always seek the truth. This is Truth Verdict.